So welcome everyone to our webinar on long service leave claims online. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Aaron Glossop. And what we're going to do today is just walk through exactly how to submit a long service leave claim through the new worker portal, which actually went live last Monday, the 13th of April. What we've done is we've developed an information sheet and I would say a very thorough step-by-step video guide to help you understand the process, and I've just pinned those two links to the chat so you can open them up and then save them or look at them at your own convenience. They are available on our website as well under the resources tab. Before we go any further, I'd just like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today. Today, I'm on Kaurna land and I pay respects to the Kaurna people and also pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people with us today. So today, we're hopefully you're going to walk away knowing exactly what to expect and how to use the new system. What we're going to cover off today is we'll just do a quick recap on some of the latest key dates. I'll step you through the full online claims process. Again, there's that information sheet and that video which goes into a lot of detail that we might not necessarily cover off today. So I'd suggest you watch that as well when you get time. We'll spend a quick minute or two on any additional information that you need to know, and then we'll open the floor up for questions. Just on the questions side of things, if you have a question whilst we're running through the slides, just chuck them in the chat. And as usual, we'll have Mandy looking at those and trying to respond to those as quickly as possible. And then for anyone who is brave at the end, you can take yourself off mute and ask some questions around the process, and we can try and respond to them. All right, so just quickly around the timeline. This is just the big picture timeline, so you just know where we're at. For most of you, you'll know that we started the scheme on the 1st of October last year. We've just completed our recent quarterly reporting period, which was the 1st of January to the 31st of March, which means that the quarterly return and the levy payment for that quarter is due on the 21st of April. So just a little bit less than a week away. And the last one on your list there is the 13th of April, which is when we went live on the online long service leave claims process on the worker portal. So whilst now we've got everything in motion, I'll try and walk you through exactly what we're going to ask you to do. So I guess the first bit is about why we've made this change, and I'll try to be as crystal clear about this as possible. From last Monday, the 13th of April, all long service leave claims must go through the worker portal. No more paper forms, no more scanning, no more walking the form from wherever you work to your employer for them to sign as well. That old claims process using that old method won't be accepted anymore. So we've actually had to turn some submissions away just already this week. So if you've got any reason why there's an issue with you doing it online, just reach out to us and we'll have a chat to you about what that might mean and what we can do. But what's great is the workers can now submit their request, I guess from anywhere, from home, from anywhere that they've got access to their computer. They can track their progress live, so they'll see exactly where their claim sits in the status process, and they can track it right through to the payment. what we expect is that this change will make everyone's life a lot easier. No more manual completing of the forms. Hopefully a lot less rigmarole to get through, and everything online so you can track it through that. So you might be asking, how does it actually work? So what we would suggest you do before you make a start on your claim, some of the things that you're going to have about, or some of the bits of information you're going to have up front. So trying to be as transparent as possible here. So first, you're going to need your worker portal login. We realise that there's some workers that might not have accessed their worker portal as yet. Anytime that they were registered, they would have been sent a link, and we recognise that not all workers have been able to or have actually accessed the worker portal as yet, so that link would have expired. So it's likely they're going to have to reach out to us for a new link to access the worker portal. But once they're through that process, they're going to need their tax file number if they want to be taxed at the rate that they should be. Otherwise, the higher rate of tax will be withheld if they skip that. Their bank details are going to be required, and this is where accuracy is really important. They're going to need to make sure that their account name matches exactly with their bank details, and we're going to have to make sure that workers aren't including things like super saver or check account, or any nicknames of their accounts on the form. It's got to be in their name, their legal name, and it's got to be the exact spelling and details as what it's with their bank. And I guess at the end of it is any supporting documents that they think that we might need. There may be times where we ask for certain things, and that's the place where workers can upload documents as well. Now, I just want everyone to be clear on hearing this, and we've had a few questions about this over the months. So just to be super clear, long service leave is based on calendar days. So 1 week of long service leave equals 7 calendar days. That's 7 days regardless of whether you work 5 days a week or 4 days a week or any other pattern. If you want a 1 week off of work, you have to claim 7 days. Part-timers or casuals, you might only work a couple of days a week. It doesn't matter. It's a 1 week off. It's a 7 calendar days. So this is going to avoid a lot of confusion later on. And we've had a lot of confusion already up until this point because of the misunderstanding around that. But that hasn't changed from the previous Act right through to the Portable Act as well. So that's how long service leave is recognised. All right, let's log on to the system and we'll go from there. So step one really is essentially the worker portal log on. So the screenshot you can see on your slide right now is what you'll see as a worker when you go to log on. Again, if this is the first time accessing the portal, or if you need additional worker checks, or you might need to complete a verification step before you can continue. I know we've recently improved that process from a multi-factor authentication process, and I believe that actually has helped considerably with people accessing the site. Once you've entered your email address and password, you just need to complete the reCAPTCHA down the bottom and log on, and then it will ask you for your authenticator code to ensure your security is maintained. Once you're logged on, you'll land on your worker portal dashboard, and it looks a little bit like this at the moment. This essentially is your home base. This is where you'll be able to access all the forms, all of your correspondence, etc., and where you can see your service information that has been recorded to date. So all of the green boxes are your portable long service leave. We're currently processing and updating all of the worker portals with the pre-scheme service, the state long service leave that we sent out in February. So right now, it still might not show that you have a certain number of weeks that you've accrued under the State Leave Act. So don't be worried that that's not captured. If we've got that detail, we're just going through the process of updating the systems. If we haven't, it just means your employer hasn't provided that detail as yet. What we do with these balances, we verify them during the claim process. So some discrepancies may show up initially. So just don't panic if you see an issue. This gets resolved when you submit your actual claim form. As with all new systems, we're finding that we find something that we need to update. And when we do update that, there are times when it might create an issue with something else within the system. So it's all about finding these bugs and ironing them out. So if everything looks right for you, if you've got enough leave and you're ready to take the next step to begin your claim, I would also suggest, before we go down that path, is if you've got any concerns with what's on your screen around your balances, we can talk with you about that later in the session, or individually if you'd like to contact us afterwards. So step 2 essentially is starting the actual claim itself. So this is a pretty straightforward process. So what you'll do is you'll go to the Forms tab at the top of your dashboard and select the long service leave claim option. You'll see a list of available forms here, and I want you to make sure that you're selecting the correct long service leave claim that you want to claim. We'll go through some of the other options afterwards, but we'll focus initially on when a worker wants to take some time off, what we call the long service leave claim form. Just before you skip on to the next bit, make sure you are selecting the right claim form. There is, like I said, other claim forms on that option. If you do select the wrong form, it obviously creates a delay in the process of completing that claim from our perspective. If you are unsure about what you need to do, or if you don't have all the details you need, you can come back later and do it later on. So I said we'll focus on the long service leave claim as an option when people want to take leave. So this is when people want to take time off work. So crystal clear about that. So make sure you pick the one that you want to complete. Make sure you're choosing the right claim. Make sure you take a moment to read each description of each option. There are some help tabs. The little question mark will show you some details around each option that you need to have an understanding of to make sure that you've got this absolutely correct. So you'll select long service leave claim if you want to take some time off, and then it will take you through to the eligibility page, which essentially is just information about your workplace that you're requesting leave from, whether or not they have an enterprise agreement that allows you to take leave prior to reaching your continuous service. And then it also asks you about your current employment. Now, there's a question there around, have you been employed with your current employer for more than 7 years? There's a yes and no option. This can create a little bit of confusion because you may have only just recently changed employers, but you did have a continuous service with your previous employer after the 1st of October last year. So make sure that you do select yes at that point in time, that if you do have that continuous service, because what it will do is it will show up how much service you have with that employer in the next couple of slides. It's important to know that if you don't have enough leave to meet the criteria, the system will stop you from proceeding, and there's no exceptions in that space. What this does, it protects you from submitting claims that can't be approved. What I also would advise is that if you're unsure about your eligibility, or if you're unsure about your enterprise agreement, check with your employer or even maybe it might be listed on your payslip. Unsure about that before answering. So if you do select yes for enterprise agreement, you'll need to enter the name of what that agreement is. You don't need to upload the document. You just need to let us know what the name of the agreement is. And again, if you don't know what that is, suggest you ask your employer. Making sure, obviously, you are choosing the right options to ensure that you're claiming what you're entitled to. Next, like I said from the start, this is where you'll need to enter your tax file number to ensure that you get taxed at the rate that you're expecting. Again, if you don't submit or enter a tax file number, the tax withheld will be, I believe, at the 40% mark. And then you also have a question to answer around your Australian residency status. And that's again for taxation purposes. So as an Australian resident or the ability to work in Australia, you have a yes and no option there. All right, so step 6, this is where you'll see on your form each of your employers. If you have more than one, it will show an employer detail for each employer. If you only have the one employer, you'll just see the one. This is the leave that you have accrued with your employer before the portable scheme started. So this is where we've asked your employers to provide us with your details on your state long service leave. We are still waiting for a number of those to be submitted. So again, if you see a zero balance at this point in time, and you expect that there should be some, don't panic. It's probably because we either haven't received it from your employer as yet, or we haven't uploaded it into the system yet. But in normal circumstances, this is where you would say, I want to take some leave from this employer. Your balance shows in weeks here on this form. You'll need to complete the details around each employer separately. So if you want to take long service leave from a number of employers, you'll need to do it for each employer on the form. So you'll just need to make sure that your employment details are correct. You'll need to confirm if you have any salary sacrifice arrangements with your employer that you want paid, and then you'll need to enter that amount in the box there on the right. And what we'll do is we'll deduct that amount from the payment that goes to you and send that to your employer or the appropriate employer. Obviously, most importantly on this is the bottom 2 calendar dates is when your first day of leave you want to take, and then the last day of leave. And that'll calculate automatically the days of leave and or weeks of leave. Again, I'll remind you that calendar days are what long service leave is based on. And there are a minimum of 7 days that you must take when it comes to long service leave. So if I move on to the next section, which is the portable long service leave details, which is different to your state long service leave. This is the leave that you've been accruing since October 1, and is the details that have been provided by your employer through the quarterly returns that we've been receiving. You'll note, obviously, there probably won't be a great deal of portable long service leave for you in this section. Right now, obviously, we've only been operating for 6 or 7 months. So the leave that will be listed in here might not be obviously of significance as yet, but will be available to you to take. Just one thing I just want to make people aware of is that if you are requesting leave from your employer through the state leave details, you don't need to enter details or duplicate the details in the portable details as well. So let me see if I can explain that better. When you're selecting your days that you want to take off under the state, under this state long service leave details, you don't need to duplicate that in the portable long service leave details as well. This would only be required if you need to take consecutive days. So you might take 10 days with your employer through the state long service leave, and then you want to add a few extra days on the end. So you might add some portable long service leave as well. So just make sure that you're not duplicating across both of those. You request it in the state long service leave and then consecutively in the portable long service leave, but not duplicating it across both. If you're not claiming any portable long service leave at all, just skip this little bit or this section altogether. So what I will get you to do is to make sure that you confirm your portable long service leave balance. And you would check the estimated weekly rate of pay, which is in that little top right section here. If there's anything that you see that you believe that's incorrect, I would double check with your employer to make sure that so why that's showing like that, because that's the information we would have received from them. And that's what the details that we have entered in based on the information they've shared with us. So if your weekly rate of pay looks correct, simply press yes and move on to the next section, which is payment frequency. And this is pretty simple. So you select how often you want to be paid. So in the case of this claim type being a claim type where you want to take some leave, you could choose fortnightly or a single payment or one payment only, or weekly payments as well. This payment frequency options only exists for the claims for when you take leave. If it's not available for a cash out claim or a termination payment claim, those two options give you only the single payment option, and you'll get a lump sum. So really, I guess in this scenario, when you want to take some leave, you've got to pick what works best for you and your cash flow. We've seen a lot of people choose fortnightly payments to match pay cycles, and that seems to be an easy process that they follow. Step 9 is where we get you to tell us what your bank details are. Essentially, this is where the payments will get made to. So as I said at the start of the session, accuracy really matters at this point in time. So you can enter your account name, account number, and your BSB. And sometimes the account name does trip up people. So just like I said, making sure that you use the account name that is registered with your bank, not a nickname or not a check account or anything like that. We have actually seen payments bounce back to us because of this reason, which ultimately ends up being a delay in receiving your payment, and we don't want to see that. So want to make sure that you get this right. Once submitted, this is where your payment's going to go. We can't, I believe, and Mandy can confirm this later on, I don't think we can change that if you do submit and with bank details, and I don't think we can change that once it's submitted. The next section is just a little bit of a help function for you around your BSB. You do have that option if you're unaware of what your BSB is. Sometimes we all get a little bit confused, or we have to try and remember all these numbers that we have to remember through our lives. So you can do a BSB search function. You can select the financial institution, so you can find your bank. In this scenario, you can see on your screen, we've looked for the Commonwealth Bank. It's come up with a BSB, and it automatically pre-fills that BSB into the criteria for us. So again, helps with typing errors, saves a bit of time, and prevents a bit of mistakes, or prevents some mistakes happening. Step 10 really is where any additional comments you might just like to provide. This is optional. You don't actually have to put anything in here. Many people leave it blank, so that's not a problem. However, this is or can be used to pass on any information about your claim that you'd like us to know that you haven't been asked through the claims process, through the document or the online process itself. But again, if you don't have anything, then just move on to the next step. You're nearly there. The last step is a declaration. What you'll just need to do is tick the declaration sign, which gives us an electronic signature. The date will automatically appear on that occurring, I believe, and you'll just press submit. What we have been requesting or advising at this point in time is that to allow 3 weeks for review. That means that there's the making sure that all of the information has been submitted is correct, waiting for the employer to undertake their approval, which we'll go into a little bit in a minute, and making sure that we get everything we need to be able to process the claim. So that's it, pretty much. At this point in time, after pressing submit, the form goes into the system. I believe it creates an email confirmation and then also creates a few next steps for the employer. So the employer's role really kicks in at this point in time. What happens is the portal instantly notifies your employer that you've submitted a claim. What we ask the employer to do at that point in time is to review the claim and hopefully approve it for your sake. And they also need to include 2 bits of information, which is the current average weekly hours that the worker has worked and the hourly rate at the claim date. From an employer perspective, this is a really important date for us. And what we've noticed over time is sometimes people get a bit confused about this date. When we ask for the hourly rate at claim date, we want you to use the date that the claim has been, or today's date, really, essentially, the date that you're approving it, not the 30th of September. So even if it's state long service leave that they're taking, it's the date or the date today that you are approving it, not the 30th of September. So it's really important to recognise that, and some people have been making that assumption incorrect. So I just need you to all take note of that when you're reviewing it and looking to approve it, it's the rate of pay date as the date you are looking at it at that time. So once that has been completed by the employer, they would enter those details and they would approve, fingers crossed, and everything therefore then is tracked live in the worker portal dashboard. The status updates are updated in real time, and what we hope that will be is that the total processing time is again around 3 weeks once the employer has provided all their information. We would hope that the employer would be able to action each claim within, fairly swift time frame. It depends on their work, how much work they've got on, I guess, and who's doing it, and whether or not they work that day or not. But we would hope that they would approve it within a couple of days, which then therefore would kick off that 3-week time frame around us processing it. And from that point onwards, we really handle everything, and the payments will roll out within that time frame. Just a quick overview of some of the other claim types you can do. And again, I touched on this at the start of the session. I guess it's using the same portal, but requires less detail. First, we have the cash out option, and that is when a worker wants to cash out some long service leave in lieu of taking the time off. We don't need any leave dates. We just need the worker to select the days that they want to cash out and their preferred payment date, and we'll try and aim towards that payment date as much as we can. Just a reminder that a 7-day fortnight equals a request for 14 days. Is that right? Reminder of 7-day fortnight equals a request 14 days for 2 weeks pay. The other one is a termination payment. This is even simpler. So this is when a worker is leaving the sector and they want to completely cash out their long service leave balance. They don't need to provide us with any dates for the cash out, the termination cash out. They just let us know when the termination date was. What we can't do is pay that termination payment out until they've left the sector completely. So it won't be paid out until after their last day of employment. And we'll gather that information. We'll do that calculation around the entitlements to the last working day. It may take a few extra days if the employer needs to provide us with some details around that termination. But the key thing here is all of these options are in the same portal, and it's important that the worker selects the correct claim type up front. I feel like a broken record when it comes to talking about calendar days, but it seems to be a big problem or a big issue for people around an understanding perspective. So I just want to make sure that we capture this around the one universal rule when it comes to long service leave. So all payments use a 7-day week basis. Long service leave, 1 week equals 7 days. Cash out 14 days equals full fortnight pay, and the termination is the exact amount to the final day. So common request we see in this space is don't request something like 10 days thinking work days only. So 14 days equals 2 full weeks of pay. So make sure you understand that. You're not just requesting the work days. The long service leave process covers off on all days, all calendar days. I know we continue to offer these resources and these webinars as support and resources for you all to understand, I guess, some of the things that you need to do. And, you know, even us, we find it a lot as well. So it's a lot to take in, and we know that you feel the same. So that's why we have all this support available to you. And it's available through the whole process. So again, we have information sheets or toolkits that are on our website which cover off everything you need to know at each stage of the process. We have the guides, video guides on our website under resources that walk you through the registration process. If you're new to the scheme, it walks you through everything from the get-go. So the worker setup, how you do your returns, and all that kind of stuff. All of our webinars are recorded, like I said earlier, and then put on our website, so you can re-watch them at your own time. I sometimes like to watch them to make sure I'm saying the right thing, and I pause it and work on how I can deliver that a little bit better next time. So it is really essentially there for you to watch at your own pace and at your own time. We have FAQs on our website that we continually update. It covers off most of the common questions that we're hearing and seeing. And if you need, I guess, a little bit more help, we have a customer service team and a couple of registration officers just a phone call away or an email away who can guide you through any part of the process or answer any specific questions. So the key message really at this point in time is that it might seem a lot and you might be a little bit overwhelmed, but you're not on your own. We're here to help you. And there are multiple ways to get the support that you need whenever you need it. Pretty much comes to the end of my slides. I always wrap it up here around letting you all know that the little QR code on your screen that you can see now, you can scan that with your camera on your phone and it will take you to our website. if you don't want to do that, there's the link to the website or the address, the URL for the website. We post heavily on both our platforms, LinkedIn and Facebook, around what's new, what's upcoming, any news or any new details that we think you need to be aware of. So I would recommend you're all follow us on either of those platforms or both. It really is a valuable tool that we use significantly to get information out and to raise some awareness. All right. That's the end of where I really wanted to talk to you about. So just going to check in with Mandy and see how you're going, Mandy, with any of the comments or questions that are coming through. Is there anything we need to focus on, or?
I've answered all of the questions. There was a lot of questions at the start about the state long service leave balances. So
Yep.
if the employers have submitted the state long service leave return, the balances are already in the system. You can sort of see bits and pieces of it on the worker portals at the moment, but we are working on some upgrades to be able to display that in a better way. It's a little bit complicated because I think we worked out about 15% of the community services sector have multiple jobs, and the state service is all separate for each of those multiple jobs up until the scheme started on 1st of October. So finding a meaningful way to display that so that workers understand what they're entitled to has been a bit of a challenge. And rather than confuse people by displaying it badly, we want to make sure we get it as right as we can. So thank you for your patience while we work through that. If you look at the worker portal and you notice that your industry service is more than 6 months, it's likely that the state long service leave balance has already been updated. The other thing about those balances, though, is that none of them have been verified at the moment, and we do know that some of the returns came through with the wrong data on them. So we do need to go through a process of validating that data and sorting it all out and making sure that the balances that are shown are accurate, and that is going to take a little while. So again, we appreciate your patience while we work through that. The other questions were around when a worker can claim their long service leave. So if the worker is wanting to claim leave or a cash out payment and they're continuing to work, then you need to have at least 10 years of service. Because the scheme's only been in place for 6 months, that means that most of that time will have to have been with your employer before the scheme starts. And you will need to continue to be with that employer to reach that entitlement. If you have an enterprise agreement that allows you to claim earlier, then you can claim earlier for long service leave or cash out payment as per that enterprise agreement. If you are leaving the sector entirely, and that means all of your jobs in the community services sector, and you're not intending to return to the community services sector within the next 12 months, you're eligible for a termination payment after you've accrued 7 years of service. So that's how our 7 and 10 year rules work. The other thing, I guess, is, and Aaron said it a few times, is around the days that we're claiming. So it's really important to remember that 1 week is 7 days. If a worker wants to take a whole week off work, you need to apply for 7 days. If you want to take 2 weeks off work, you need to apply for 14 days. If you apply for 10 days because you go, okay, we'll only work 5 days a week, you're going to get paid based on about 1.5 weeks worth rather than 2. So if you want the full 2 weeks of what you would normally get paid, you need to take 14 calendar days off of work.
I think that's really important to harp on a little bit more, is that the way that long service leave is worked out hasn't changed from the state leave process. So they also worked on calendar days as well. And that's no different to what the Portable Leave Act is sharing and telling us what to do as well.
Yeah, there's lots of reasons why it is like that. It's a 24/7 industry. People often work 7 days a week. They could work all sorts of different days a week. Managing it based on different weeks across multiple employers is really difficult. So 7 days is a week. If you want to take a week off, you take 7. If you want to take 3 weeks off, you take 21 days. That pretty much covers all the questions that have come through the chat, but if anyone has any other questions, you're welcome to ask.
Yeah, put your hand up or bring yourself off mute and introduce yourself. We've got a couple of minutes left or a little whiles to go, so we can either give you some time back or you can hit us with some questions, so feel free. Or not.
Or not.
You don't have to. Again, this will be a webinar recording will be put online, so you can rewatch it. Mandy showed me how to pin some links to the chat at the start of the meeting. So the link there is to the step-by-step video guide. It's about 8 minutes long, so don't get bored. We're going to break it up into sections at some point in time, but I thought it was important that we got it out as quickly as possible. So there are, you have the ability to skip forward or go back and have a bit of a look over stuff that you might have missed, or skip over stuff you don't necessarily need to work on right then and right now. And then there's that link to the information sheet, which is on our website as well.
Just a quick question from Teresa about industry service. So when you look at your worker portal at the moment, there is a square that says industry service. And what that includes is the portable long service leave you've accrued since the scheme started, but also any partial years of service that carried over from that state long service leave balance. So that's why it might show more than 6 months at the moment. It might show some random amount. The whole years of service completed with the employer before the scheme starts will be considered state long service leave, but those partial years were added to your balance, and so that becomes what we called industry service. So not exactly is the answer.
I think it's important that we didn't want workers to lose their continuous service at that point. So those partial years, we had to work out a way where to capture that. And I think the easiest way we worked out was to include them into the portable long service leave portion as a part year.
Yeah, it was just about managing the transition from state long service leave into the Portable Long Service Leave Act, and how to make sure that workers were getting all of the entitlements they were getting, and employer liabilities were calculated correctly, and leave was calculated at the right payment rate. So, and that was pretty complicated.
Yeah. All right. No one's going to be brave. No one, or it just means maybe, Mandy, that we did a thorough job with presenting the slides today, and no one has any additional questions, which I like to think. But I know some people can get a little bit shy sometimes with asking questions. So if you do have anything that you want to check by us, you can reach out to our team after the session today, or at any time really. And if you need to ask anything specific about your organisation, or something you're a little bit confused about, if I glossed over it too quickly, or you just don't understand it, which is not an issue. This is all new to us as well, so we're just actually trying to make it as simple as possible for you, but we can understand that it might get a little bit confusing. So I'll just give everyone a last opportunity to ask any more questions. If not, we'll give you a little bit of time back into your day. I think, Mandy, we're going to get 15 minutes back ourselves. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, so much for joining us today. We've got 3 other sessions on this same topic, so it'll be exactly the same presentation. So if you've seen it today, no need to attend another session unless you really want to. Or if you come up with some questions and you haven't had time to check in with us in between. But the next session is next Tuesday. I think it's at 1 o'clock off the top of my head. And then we've got some other sessions moving on from that. But we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a good rest of your Tuesday, and we'll chat again soon.